Shalom, family. This is your brother Dana, and I'm coming to you from the city of Atlanta, from a place in one and love. Again, these videos are for those of you I call me family. An opportunity for me to share a little bit more about who I was during those 30 years in Chicago that has made me who I am today. Now that you see my face up here on social media. Well, today's story is going to blow you away. It's a story none like any of the others. So a good friend of mine who I had been working with for a while and was heavily into the church like I was at that time, wanted me to meet and kind of hang out a little bit with his older brother. So he introduced me to him, and the next day or so we got together and driving around, and it was during those couple of days in the car and breaking bread together that I found out who Sonny Kool really was. Now, to describe his physical appearance, Mr. Clean on steroids. Yes, I'll be stereotyping, but if I saw him in the alley, I would have to run the other way. He was a bad looking dude, but I trusted his brother. Well, Sonny told me the ways of the streets and the things that he had experienced, and at the age of 11 he ran away from home, and a couple years after that he was convicted of helping to murder several people, and spent, I think it was 27 to 30 years in jail, and was released now in his 50s. And that his desire was to get his license to drive truck. And so it happened to roll around on Sunday. And a couple of days prior, a group of college students who came out to Chicago to do some volunteer work with me in the inner city and to learn different things that I was doing. I think they were from Nebraska. They were there. And so Sunday afternoons, I had started a contemporary urban worship service, and they wanted to partake in it. So Minister Gwen, who was like a mentor and a spiritual mother of mine who was helping me with this endeavor, was there. And so I introduced her to Sonny Kool, and you know, we were just getting done eating, and they were cleaning up, and others were coming for the service. And I recall Sonny pulling me to the side and saying, "You see that young lady over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "She will be mine. Mark my words, brother, she will be mine." Well, that didn't sit right in my spirit, but look, we were getting ready to start service, so I was going to deal with that later. Well, it was the end of the service, and Minister Gwen was making a plea if anybody wanted prayer, and so Sonny Kool walked up front and wanted prayer, and so Gwen and another young lady with a couple others took them into a room where they were going to see what was going on and pray for them. Well, after the service was over with, Minister Gwen she was on 9, and she's like, Brother Dana, you need to call me. You need to call me immediately. As soon as you get in that car, you need to call me. It is desperately important that you call me. We departed. Well, Sonny Kool was in the car with me, and we were going to drive around a little bit more, and then I was going to take him, I believe, back down to the south side. Well, tried calling Minister Gwen several times, and every time I did, it went straight to her voicemail. So I kept leaving her messages. After a little while, Sonny Kool wanted to see my Rottweilers, so I brought him up into my apartment, and he sat down here, and I sat down here on the sofa. And there was a coffee table in between, and just began to share with him how the Lord brought me into the inner city and my relationship with the Father. And as I began to share this, Sonny Kool goes, "That's enough, brother. That's enough." And you know, I kind of still was sharing a little bit because the Most High Yah is the love of my life. He's everything. He's everything to me. So as I shared a little bit more, his head went down, and as his head went down, my two full-grown Roddies ran through the living room into my bedroom. And it was just like that Sonny Kool head went down, and when he came up, he said, "I told you to stop!" His eyes flipped. They looked like snake eyes. He then ripped his shirt off as he stood up. And as he went around straight to me, and I sat there, partly in shock, partly in fear, it was as if he hit a glass wall. And he would turn around, and he would come full-fledged towards me again, and bam, like he hit a glass wall. He went back around that coffee table to come at me a third time, and bam, it was like he hit a glass wall. That time, he went back to that chair, and he sat down. I was like, "Good night." And I ran quickly to my room. I shut the door. I put my dresser in front of the door. Then I began to strip the sheets off my bed, to tie them in knots, to climb down them to the ground floor, because I lived almost on the 4th floor. And my cell phone was still out in the living room by Sonny Kool. But as I opened that window and I looked at my Roddies, and as I was tying these sheets good and tight, I heard the voice of my Father say, "Greater is who that is in you versus he that is in him. How dare you run?" And with those words, I decided to stay. I still kept my dresser in front of the door. But I prayed. My anxiety, my fears, my nerves, my sweating, my shaking subsided. I actually had a good night's sleep, and when I woke up in the morning, I was hoping I would see him gone. But no, I walked out there, and there he was, sitting in that chair, staring forward as if he hadn't moved throughout the entire night. He looked at me, and he said, "I asked you to stop because I didn't want to hurt you. But," he says, "I also recognize now that you're a man of God." Well, we got into my car, and I dropped him off. Then I went to my place of employment. Got to my office. Saw, back in the day, late 1990s, early 2000s, there was voice messages on my phone. The little red light was blinking. Had the little cassette tapes. So I hit play. And it was a voice of a frantic Minister Gwen Rucker saying, "Brother, I've been trying to get in touch with you. Are you alive?" All these messages, and then all these voice messages came up on my cell phone voicemail. She said, "Please don't stay with him. He'll murder you. He's got the spirit of murder." I called her at work. She picked up, "Dana, you're alive." Well, she shared her story. When her and this other young lady and a couple people went into the room to pray, they prayed with these other individuals first, and then they happened to get up and walk out, leaving Gwen with Sonny Kool. She said, as I was praying for him, he put his head down and he manifested with demon eyes. She said, it scared me so much. She said, I ran to the door, and when I turned the doorknob, it came off. I was trapped in the room. She said, I began to bang on the door, and finally somebody heard her, opened it up, and let her out. She said, I wanted to tell you, don't bring him into your home. I shared with her our story. Yes, we both rejoiced. We both laughed. But then, several months later, I got a call from the professor that brought those students to Chicago that weekend, along with the president of the school, asking if I knew anything of Sonny Kool, including his whereabouts. I said, no, why? Well, he had made his way to that small town, to the house of where this woman was living with her husband and 2 or 3 children. And they went off together. And nobody has seen or heard from her since. A few years back, I got a call from this good friend that told me that Sonny Kool had passed away. I inquired about this lady. Nobody knew anything. The Most High Yah has his ways of preparing us for battle. I'll never forget the lessons that I learned from Sonny Kool. At the end of these videos, I again want to invite those of you who are family to join us for our Tuesday night Neshama Shali gathering circles. It's a time of fellowship. It's a time where, again, iron sharpens iron. We edify one another. We love on one another. We're building a family together. A family that's based on love. For we know that love never fails. My website is down below, onelovesociety.love. Register, and I'll send you the information you need to join us. Thursday nights, No More Lies. My mentor, Brother Chris, is bringing us deeper into this truth. So if you're willing to battle with the rest of us out of this box of indoctrination, then I will encourage you to join us, because there too we become a family. Encouraging one another, walking with one another, loving one another, supporting one another, preparing one another for what lies ahead. Go to my website, click on No More Lies and register. And if you don't hear back from me within a day or so, please check your spam or junk mail, because so often that's where I'm sent. But we here at One Love are a family of people moving together in unity and in love. Because one thing we recognize is that love accomplishes everything it needs to accomplish, and it never fails. So, family, this is your brother Dana, coming to you from the city of Atlanta, from a place in one love. Shalom, family.